Hello everyone and welcome to Mersey Island. Beautiful. Slight change of plan in today's video. I was going to do an indoor video on like levitation with my dog because it's meant to be raining and it's beautiful outside. Let me show you. Absolutely beautiful. Look at that. So instead, I'm out here. I want to talk to you a little bit about why you should date your camera. Sounds very strange, I know, but bear with me. There's some method in this madness. So just to start off with the first one, if you are shooting in auto mode, so auto mode there, it will tell me right now that I should be shooting at f6.3. I got auto ISO on and at 100, and then it's got a shutter speed of 320th of a second. That's fine, but I don't want such a narrow aperture. So if I was to go to aperture priority, which is the A on top, and this is the first one about understanding your camera, is what does aperture priority do? So on here, let me just reset that. So if I go auto ISO, okay, it keeps it 100, which is really good. So you can see on here, I want to shoot at f16. So that's saying that if I want to keep an ISO at 100, I need to be shooting at 160th, and you can see how that kind of measures there. So the camera will automatically work that out when I tell it what aperture I want, which is going to give me a far better photo. So if I was to snap that away, you can see on screen that gives me a better composition. Now I can't change the shutter speed, so the only way I can't really change this from here. The only thing I can do is obviously increase the f to drop the shutter speed, or widen the aperture to increase that. That's not what I want to do. So the next one that you might look at is shutter speed and how that affects the photo. Got this little doggy, always a good distraction. So if I was to look at the screen now, which is going to be very dark for you guys, like that. Now if that's the shutter priority, if I change that now, I can change the shutter speed, and that does also affect the aperture, which is really good. So then you can get a better composition. So it's just understanding those controls. So my first two ones about why you should date your camera is in situations like this, just be able to know what those functions do. So know what shutter speed does and know what aperture priority does. And obviously if you go to full manual, you can adjust it there. So I'll say, right, I want my ISO to be locked at 100, because that's what I like for my landscapes, and I'm going to want my aperture to be at f11 because I want to get the starburst and everything. And then all I have left to change is the shutter speed. So I can say, right, makes it darker, and this makes it lighter. You can obviously see how that affects the image as well. And obviously I don't want it too much if I'm looking at the metering as well and taking that photo. Easy as that. So number two on my date night rule that you should do with your camera is figure out metering and how metering works, and also how your focus settings work, because they two kind of tally up. The reason why is because your metering will always focus on where you are. Your metering will always reflect where you are focusing. So for example, this is obviously very dark at the moment, so let's just lighten this up a little bit. So right, okay, now I am focusing here, little red arrow, and I'm using a single point focus at the moment, which means that's where it will be. And because I'm f11, it will get a lot of this stuff in here, so I know I'll get crisp in one shot. The thing is, with the metering, it tells me there that I'm now overexposed if I look at the dark. Right? If I look at the shadow on the up, if I move that towards the sky, you can see how much that changes. So if I now point at the sky and make that metering go to 0, that will give me a good one where I've not exposed the sky. If I move that back onto here, can you see it's now dropped down by probably -1 hole in the metering. So that's why I say it's understanding it's really important, because when you want to do something where you want to expose to the sky, you could use a ND filter, like a gradual ND or a polarizer. In this case, you could also photostack, so I could take one of the sky, because I know that's perfectly exposed, and I can come back down here, and I can lighten up the foreground and take another one. Perfecto. And then I can blend the two together, and I'll have a perfectly exposed sky and a perfectly exposed foreground, which will give me a very good edit. So, tip number 3 or date number 3. You can do them all in one day if you want, but I recommend just focusing on one, getting really good at one before moving on to the next one. Really getting to know that part. And if you think about it, if your camera's going to quiz you on how to do that, can you answer those questions? So the next one I want to talk about is, based off, if you've done your metering and focus sensing, I then want you to figure out with your lens, what is your minimum focus distance? So this is how far away from the object you need to be in focus. Now this is my composition. I can swap the camera. So I have this beaten up boat down here, which makes for a really good foreground and the sunset. And what you want to do is think about where would you focus in this photo to get that image. Now I'm just going to take some before I lose the sun dipping over that. So where I'm standing now, I know that if I focus on here, I will get, and I'm shooting at f11, I will get everything else in detail, but not too much, not all the way down there. I know just from experience. So what I'm going to want to do is focus just a little bit towards the front of the boat or over the boat, and then that I know that will get everything in there. So what I mean by that is, instead of focusing down here, like right down there, I'm going to want to focus sort of, let's make that a bit brighter for you. Yeah, instead of focusing here on a single point, I will focus up here or somewhere in the mid ground to get that one, and then that will give me everything I need. Should be perfect. Let's try a landscape one. So they were my tips so far. Just before I go on and show them or talk about the rest of my tips or my dating advice that you should have with your camera, I will put a link to a blog post I'll do about this where you can see all the different ones and a breakdown for that and the reasons why. I think I've been out with too many photographers recently that just don't know how to they don't know how to fix their ISO on their camera, or they don't understand how to go from manual to autofocus. You know, when we're playing around in the studio, they don't understand lighting. You know, there's like lots of like basic stuff for the cameras that I just think, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It's part of that learning journey, and I've definitely gone through that as well, and I still make mistakes. But I think when you're out and about and the weather's like this, right, and it's a spur of the moment, I'm not panicking today. I'm not worried about, oh, I need to get this setting right, or I need to do that, or this isn't perfect. I'm actually worrying more about my composition and making sure I get that right, which just means that I don't have to worry about, oh, I need to do this setting or that setting, or yeah, it just takes the pressure off. So you know, you come here and you go, okay, that's not quite what I wanted, but I can adapt. I can do this instead, and I know that because I can confidently do this on my camera. And I think that's the key, and that's why I want you to have this advice and date your cameras, because when you get to a situation like this, you can just sit back and enjoy it. And you can look for boats, you can look for huts, you can see how the light is coming in there and how these are, and the beautiful trees that I've got in the distance here. And you can even look out here and go, right, well, how does this look? Obviously beautiful, by the way, but I think for me that's the key. It's not necessarily about how you need to do that. Just know your camera, and know your camera intimately, like you'd know your partner. Sounds strange, I know. Method in my madness. I'd probably take my hat off now, to be fair, because it's not. The sun's not in my eyes anymore. Anyway, back onto the next tip. Just look how beautiful that is. Ah, it's just stunning. My other tip isn't necessarily about getting to know your camera, but it's getting out and practicing. Practice all the time. Every opportunity you get. If you want to be a better photographer, practice makes perfect. And unfortunately, it's the case in all different scenarios. And that's kind of why I wanted to say, go and date and go and do these things. Now, I'm not in woods and I can't show you woodlands, but one of the ones is I want you to go to woodlands. I want you to take some woodlands from a distance, from a landscape perspective, but then also go and take some close-ups and take some like micro, you don't need a micro lens, so you could do close-up photography, but get really up into it. I'm just get that bokeh, don't get the bokeh. You know, focus and play around between in focus and out, not in focus, out of focus, but focal distances and how that works. If you want everything in focus, or you want that real nice bokeh where that one flower or that one leaf really stands out, I just think it just helps you get creative as well. And I think that's the whole point of us, right? It's a hobby, it's getting out and getting creative. Sunsets are really good because you get to really play around with light. When the weather's bad and dull, do some stuff indoors. I will do a video next about some creative indoor stuff that you can do, which requires minimal setup. Like little odd reflections, or someone sit in a chair and get rid of the chair. Yeah, many other things. But anyway, I'm just rambling on now. In terms of getting to know your camera for the next one. So my next one for you, quick menus and how you use those. So I have this eye on here. I'm sure on other systems you'll have other ones, but if I pop that up, I get a little quick menu of stuff. So I can see I've got release mode, I've got autofocus mode, highlighting, so I can turn peaking highlights on if I wanted to. I can then, it just allows me to quickly come in here. So I know, right, I've got auto area focus single point on. I know, right, I can go to a wide point autofocus. And what does that do? We come back here, we come off. You see, oh, my square's got bigger. So it's a bigger surface area to work with. So I can go, right, okay, cool. I'm going to then bring that down and focus here. And hopefully that will be good. I know it won't be. I'll probably need to be focusing somewhere in the middle to get that. But the lighting is just so good. But that just gives you an idea. And then you go back and go, actually, I don't want that one. I don't want a wide one. Maybe I want a larger one. So I've got an even larger one there, right? And this is really good for like animal stuff or birds. Or you got auto area, autofocus. So I come off of that and come here, and well, it's doing the whole thing because it's a landscape. It doesn't really know what to focus on. Now, if I was to move my tripod here and focus on the water by zooming in a little bit, is he going to do it? No, it's not going to do it. But I guess the idea is that it will allow you to get what you need to do. I was being really daft for the focus ring as well earlier. She didn't see, but I found my focus ring where I can manually change that. There you go. I'm finding something else about my camera tonight. And yeah, so you've got that. So you've got auto mode. I really like my single point autofocus. That's the one that I stick to. But then we've got stuff about focus mode. So single autofocus, continuous autofocus, or manual focus. So you can also do it on your camera. Continuous autofocus I love when you're doing animals or kids or anything that's moving, because you're just always going to get that. And you can also go and do other stuff as well. So if I sometimes will do auto, and then I'll come into the settings and I'll go, if I can find it off the top of my head, there's a animal mode on here where it captures the eyes. Yeah, there you go. There's me telling you that you need to know where that stuff is on your menus, and I don't know where it is on my own menu. Autofocus, and then it is in, here you go, autofocus with animal. So I've got animal detection on. You can have face detection or face and eye detection. I shoot my dog a lot, so and when I say shoot, I mean take pictures, not actually shoot my dog. Another one I wanted to talk to you about whilst I'm here is bulb mode. So I've really got into doing my long exposures, and I'm using a timer at the moment. As you can see, I have 1 minute left of a 3.5 minute timer, 3 minutes 20, and I am doing I'm in bulb mode, which basically means that it will go until I tell it to stop taking a photo. So I'm doing a nice long exposure, because I really like the clouds and how they've been moving above this hut. So I obviously can't show you what that looks like, but if you can imagine, I'm kind of zoomed in on that on portrait mode, and then I've had the clouds moving across here. So it could be beautiful. We will find out in a little bit of time. But yeah, so my next one is play around with long exposures and how long it takes, and just see and get a little app. I mean, this is just the lead filters one, but there's plenty out there. It tells you a timer based on that. I'll actually show you that in a second, and how it tells you how to work out those times, because I think that is a good skill in itself. But yeah, bulb mode is great. And are we ready for the reveal? 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, go. Can't really see it on there. I'll put that on the screen now, and you can have a little look at that. I won't edit it, and then I'll do an edited version so you can see what both look like. So in terms of this app, so what I did was I worked out what my settings would be for my camera. So let me show you. So I'll take my 10 stop off. And then takes a bit of setup. Come off bulb mode. So I'll drop this down to what I want my composition to be. So that is f11 at 1/5 of a second. Okay. And then on here, I will then say that this is 1/5. Alright, and I'm using a 10 stop filter. So then it tells me that I've got 3 minutes 20 left. And then I'll just hit timer and then press that. And it will then just do that as soon as I'm playing around with it. So there you go. I think that's my top 5. I'm going to write more on my post that I'll link to that you can figure out more. They're going to be things like I said about woodlands, so things around skies, things about cars as well, and like photographing wet things. So like for example, go into the woods with a polarizer and understanding what difference a polarizer makes and doesn't make to your photo. I love woodlands, like a wet woodland morning, especially in the spring. Now it's springtime. With a polarizer, it just, if the light hits anything, it blurs basically all the highlights get overexposed in your image, so your flowers will just not look great. And the best way to do that, polarizer, get it on there, see what it does. It just takes off all the skin, which allows you to get that really nice stuff. Right, I'm going to go and take a few more photos, and I'll show you a reel now, or a slideshow of some of the photos I've taken today. And if you like this video, as always, please like on it. It just really helps with the channel. And if you haven't subscribed and you want to subscribe, I would really appreciate that. I don't earn any money from this. I don't have sponsorship. I don't think I want sponsorship. I think I just want to go down the ad route for a bit of extra money in there, which allows me to invest in gears and more videos that I can do for everyone. Have a good rest of your day.